Hi, my name is Paul Beddoes. I work for Caravanas de Mexico, which is a Mexican RV tour company. We do caravans all over Mexico. MexicoCaravans.com is our website. It's very important for us on RV tours, especially in Mexico where all the signs are in Spanish, to have good communications. For years we used CB radios and they were marginal in their effectiveness. When we had maybe 15 rigs, the rig up front couldn't hear the one out back and everything else like that. About 3 years ago we switched over to the Midland GRMS radios. There's one right here. This is the MXT115. It's about 150 bucks US retail. Comes in a version that has the controls inside the microphone as well if you prefer that. They're 15 watts. They have a range of anywhere from 1 mile to about 5 miles in practical use. We have a 12 rig caravan. We have no problem at all communicating with the first and last unit. Now, the biggest hassle with these is installing them. They're a heck of a lot easier than a CB radio. First of all, you do not have to tune the antenna like you do with a CB, and you also don't need a metal ground plane as well, which you do with a CB radio. The biggest hassle with them is installing the antenna. The radio itself is quite small. This is it right here. Very lightweight. The important thing to do is to make sure you don't block the ventilation vents or sandwich it in anywhere. So don't stick it into one of those little slots you find in a lot of vehicles. It probably says so in the instructions, but a real man doesn't read the instructions, as you know. I've had one customer that's managed to melt one of these things, so make sure that you mount it where there's good air ventilation. It does come with a metal mounting bracket, which is right here, and you can either screw that to the dash somewhere, or it comes with some double-sided Velcro where you can stick it with Velcro if you prefer. It has a cigarette lighter plug-in. If you're going to mount it permanently, you might want to chop this off and run this directly to a 12 volt ground supply if you can find one under the dash somewhere. Okay. As I said, the worst part is mounting the antenna. The reason for that is somehow you have to get this connector through the firewall if you're going to do it that way. The one nice thing about this connector is that it's identical to a regular CB fitting. So if you have an existing CB in your vehicle, you might want to try hooking the unit to your existing CB antenna and see how it works. I actually tried that a couple of years ago with my old truck, and I found it worked just fine with the existing CB. So that's what I did. Otherwise, you've got a couple of different options. Sometimes on a Class C like this or a Class A, you'll find there's a ventilation vent very close to the driver's area. I won't bother showing it to you, but you might be able to fish it up through the bug screen of that and over the lip and outside. The higher up you get this antenna, the better, but it's fine on the front hood of the truck. If get my wife here to point to my existing one there, you can see it. So, the big problem is getting the wiring through to the outside. Now, if it's just a temporary install, this wire is quite thin. It's I believe it's 14 gauge, and you can quite often just squeeze it between the rubber grommets on the door, like the rubber molding, without damaging it. What I quite often do is I use a piece of 14 gauge wire, just a scrap of it first, and I try it myself and make sure that it's not going to damage it. If it works fine, by all means, that's an easy way to do it temporarily. You can tape it up at this end if you want so it doesn't fall down, and it'll probably work fine. Also, in this particular truck, and in a lot of trucks, you can pull this molding down just like that. And if you can do that, you need to protect this metal here so it doesn't bite into the wire. You can buy little molding pieces that fit over. That's just something I made up, but it doesn't work very well. And you can run the wiring through like this and push the molding back into place like that, and then you can take it up onto the roof or down to the hood or whatever, and you'll probably find you can close the door on that quite nicely without damaging the wire. So that's what I would have done with this truck if I couldn't have gotten the wire through the firewall. Your other alternative is, of course, to try and find a routing through the firewall down there. And if you look on mine here, I don't know if you can see that or not. But right here I got a bunch of wires that actually go through a rubber grommet into the engine compartment. And it's quite easy quite often just to slice that open a little bit more and push the fitting through, and then you're good. That's what I've done with this particular unit. You can see that I have mounted my unit down here like that, and it's out of the way and it's a good spot. As I said before, don't try and put it into one of those, otherwise you're going to cause yourself problems. So that's about it. That's the easy way to install an MXT 115. And the other advantage to this particular unit is it's completely compatible with these handhelds. You can buy these handhelds at Costco, Cabela's, Walmart, Canada Tire, a lot of places. And you know, they don't have quite the range of the base units. Quite often on caravans we'll get somebody who signs up in the last few days before we leave. They don't have time to install one of these base units. We just tell them to buy a couple of these, and if we stick them close to the leader of the group, they work quite fine. They're also extremely handy when you're parking rigs. You send your wife out with one of these and you use the base station to communicate. So all in all, the MXT 115 or the MXT 275 is a great choice. 15 watts, they also come in 5 watt versions and 40 watt versions. We find the 15 watt version is pretty much ideal. Thank you very much.